Hey guys, this is Jonathan Henderson with Pressure Washing Marketing Pros, and right now I have AC Lockyer right with me. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, doing very good.
That's good. That's good. I see you got the nice sunny Orlando weather in the background, the pool, the lanai, everything.
It
We have
is a beautiful, beautiful day today. It was actually, believe it or not, it was a pretty cold start today in Orlando, especially for towards the end of March. It was 46 degrees this morning when we woke up.
Oh man. Well, we're out here in Tampa, so I don't know. I wasn't outside early this morning, so I cannot confirm that, but I definitely can confirm that it does get like that here in Florida. So I'm so glad that you have joined the podcast, right? And for all the listeners out there, whether you're on YouTube with the podcast, right? Thank you for listening. And so AC, I know I just saw you at the PWMCA, got my book signed from you.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that we're going to talk about, guys, right now is just AC's journey. So if a lot of you guys have been under a rock, right? AC is the CVO of Droplet International, right? President of Disruptor Manufacturing, founder of SoftWash Systems, which he is most known by, right? And I like to call him the godfather of the SoftWash method. And he's also the author of the 5 Keys to Pattern Success, right? So
Yes.
there's a lot of different titles, and I know you have way more. I just want to talk about the main ones, right?
Well, what's crazy is yeah, there's a lot of different titles because technically when you file for corporations and all, you got to be listed as an officer and everything. But generally, in just about everything I do, I'm the CVO, Chief Vision Officer of
Mhm.
Droplet International. That's my holding company that owns all my businesses. And I got that title from the book Traction. I don't know if you've read the book
Mhm.
Traction yet. And
Mhm.
so Gino, I forget Gino's last name, wrote that book. And so they talk about a CFO and a COO and a CEO and all that. And then they talk about this CVO. And when they describe that position, somebody that casts vision, that sees the playing field differently, that is innovative and likes to bring products to market and stuff like that. That was really sung to me. And that's really who I am as the CVO of my companies. And then generally, when I'm working in one of my companies, I'm generally the vice president of marketing. And I know this is a marketing show here, and you own a marketing company. And so I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about because
Yes.
the big thing that I do is marketing and sales team development.
And definitely, I mean, you built a multi-million-dollar empire over there at SoftWash Systems. So can you give us a little rundown about SoftWash Systems and even your book? Because we're going to elaborate it even further as we go along in our discussion. But just for the viewers that may not know about SoftWash Systems, can you just give us a little brief overview of what it is?
Right. So, many, many, many moons ago, I didn't start my life very differently than anybody else that's listening to this podcast. They talk about the $99 pressure washing guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was worse. I was the $49 guy. And so I started cleaning roofs for $49, and it was abysmal, and I didn't make a lot of money. But I basically wanted to start a small business. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. And so, I had this entrepreneurial gene in me, and you wanted to get married, wanted to have a family, wanted to do all that kind of stuff. So I needed to be able to support myself. And really, when I'd gotten kicked out of college back in the day, and I was traveling back home after a failed business attempt in Texas, and asked my dad. I said, "Hey, I want to marry Karen. I want to start my life. Pitch me an idea. You pitch people ideas all the time, Dad. Pitch me an idea for something to do to start a business." And he said, "Well, the family painter got up and pressure washed the house to get it ready to paint the house. And then he jumped up on the roof and power washed off the roof to clean off the algae and stuff off the shingles." My dad said, "Man, it made the roof look brand new, aside from the obvious damage it caused." But
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Seems to me roof cleaning might be a cool thing to try and do." And so that's really how it started. But when I got up, my dad, so I am a child of privilege. Okay. And so I'm privileged. My blue collar privilege, really. My dad was in the appliance business and sold appliances, worked on appliances, had appliance repair trucks, stuff like that. The Money for Nothing song by Dire Straits.
Mm-hmm.
That was my. I mean, when they came up with that song, I was like, who writes a song about my family? It was crazy. But my dad did help me out with my business. He bought me $1,000 Mitsubishi pickup truck and a $500 pressure washer from Sam's. And and so I had that little bit of seed money, like a lot of us get, a relative or a family member, somebody helps us out, or we get that one credit card in the mail and we go, we're going to start a business with this thing. So that was kind of, the privilege that we all have, especially here in America. And jumped up on my first roof. It was my grandmother's roof, friends and family, stuff like that. Good old grandma's going to pay me to clean her roof.
Yeah.
And got up there and started pressure washing it and just started sandblasting my shins with all the aggregate coming off the roof. And so I said, man, this is not good for the roofs. I got to come up with a different way of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I have a background in horticulture. I worked in the nursery industry for 6 years. I actually got a degree or a vocational degree in horticulture, dual enrolled while I was in high school in ornamental horticulture. And I knew that you could spray plants with algicides and fungicides and antibacterials and things like that to control diseases and mold and mildew and funguses on plants. I'm like, that's all that's growing up on this roof. Why can't I just spray something up on the roof? And so that's what I did is I kind of came up with a concoction to start spraying up on the roofs. And I knew I wanted to get a nice instant clean up on the roofs. So I knew that bleach could get me that. So I figured out what algicides and fungicides and detergents and surfactants I could mix with bleach to, go ahead and get the roof clean instantly and have it last a long time, and kind of stumbled on this thing, soft washing. And I didn't call it soft washing. A guy named Tim Asselton out of Tallahassee, Florida, with Seminole Soft Wash actually was the first person to really coin the name soft washing. And so I always called it the exclusive mallard system because I like ducks. And then, I kind of came up with it and I was off to the races. I mean, I was making money hand over fist. I did like $82,000 my first year.
And AC, not to interrupt you, can you let the people know when this was? Because I know guys might hear this and might be like, well, Jonathan, we know about SoftWash, we know about all of this stuff, but can you tell them the time frame that you were doing this in?
It's 1991. It was October of 1991 is when I started. My first year in business, I did like 82,000. My second year in business, I did like 85,000. It's like, oh, if I could only break 90 grand, I put maybe about 50% of it in my pocket, as you do as an owner operator. And it was good, but it was an owner operator, one man truck out there coming home smelling like bleach every day. And I really wanted to do something more than just that. And, but when you look at a lot of people that are out there in the business, they struggle because you get in that owner operator rut and you're out on the truck cleaning, you're selling, you're wearing all the hats and you're doing all the things. And, and it's really hard to get out of that rut. And I just like people to know, guys, I was in that rut too. And it was through good coaching from my dad and mentorship and the people I hung out with. Didn't hang out with pressure washers. I hung out with a bunch of white collar people and vice presidents from banks. And most of my friends were 10 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And just got encouraged out of the slump.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is awesome. So what is SoftWash Systems now? Because I know, well, you know what? We'll talk about that later because you went over a lot there, AC, right? So I know before me and you got on, we were talking about how like Mallard Systems, that was one of the businesses that you used to own. And we kind of talked about your entrepreneurial journey with your dad, how you guys were working together and some of just the hardships you had faced. Can you tell us, some of the hardships that you faced? Because a lot of the guys that are watching this right now, they may be experiencing some hardships right now. And I know your story is, it's very motivating, right? So that guys can go ahead and keep going on.
Yeah, and hardship is always a part of your entrepreneurial journey. I mean, I'm going through hardships right now. I've bit off way more than I can chew right now, and I'm trying to work the ball through the snake. And I got a lot of businesses going and things going and irons in the fire and all. And I can put on a nice big smiling face right now and have a great podcast. But although I'm doing well and things are fine, man, I've kind of dug myself a hole right now that I'm working myself out of, that everything will be fine, but you shouldn't be afraid of hardships, And so, people are like, don't ever hire friends or family. Been through that, there's all of these things that people encounter, car wrecks where people get killed, accidents, people falling off of roofs, people stealing from you. You know, just if you could imagine any of it, I've been through it. And for some people, they see that like as this is too tough. This must be a sign. I just need to quit. You know, this isn't working out. But you know, if you watch stories about great Americans and great people anywhere in the world, really, they all had hardships, and the stories never surround about look at all the stuff that just happened so easily for them. That's the boring story. Like you never see, you know, this is going to date me a little bit, my age a little bit, but you never see a behind the rock and roll, behind the music on Bon Jovi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he married his high school sweetheart. He never did any drugs or drinking. There's no drama in the band or anything else. It'd be boring. Okay. All the great stories surround the trials and the obstacles and the crap that hits the fan and the bad stuff that happens and the people who overcome that adversity. If you don't overcome adversity, you don't have a story. And so you need to embrace the storm and embrace the adversity and embrace the tough times, because you know when you push out of those and overcome those that's what makes you a great business person.
No, of course you're right. Can you share any specific instance that you faced in or challenges you faced in any of your businesses?
Oh
That
man, I've had, oh man, let me
I
think
know
about
there's
it.
a lot of them, but there's probably one to where you're like, man, like how that kind of pushed your business and your mindset forward.
Yeah, so yeah, well, you know, there's the one that, you know, my dad and I were in business together. So after I started this business, I got about 3, 4 years in. I'm like, I'm going to reposition my computer here. I'm getting some
Okay.
sun on me here. Try
Huh?
to, I'll maybe sit here a little more. But you know, I got my dad came into business to help me out and everything else, and I kind of have a tiger by the tail on this whole thing. And it got to the point where two bulls could not occupy the same hill anymore. And, you know, my dad and I had to get out of business from each other. And there was a lot of drama and everything involved in it. And, um, and so we didn't do business together for a while. About 5, 6 years later, my dad found himself in a real bad economic position with the housing bubble collapsing in 2008, 2009,
Mm-hmm.
and said, "Hey, son, we're older, we're wiser, we're doing great. Hey, looks like you need help in the business. How about I come into the business and help you out?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, Dad." You know, at this point, we had been big business. I mean, when we had Mallard systems, I don't mean big business like IBM or something, big for the pressure washing world. We had Mallard systems. We had 18 service trucks and 18 sales trucks and did $4.8 million a year back in the year 2000. And so it was a pretty good size business. That's just for inflation now. That's a $7.8 million a year company. I woke up every Monday morning to $100,000 payroll. Yeah, well, no, what was it? No, 100 employees and a $40,000 payroll. Okay, so $40,000 payroll on Mondays. I had to make sure the money was in the bank so the checks cleared. And so, you know, I mean, you know, it's not like I couldn't run a business, but my dad was like, "Hey, you know, it seems like you need some help. You know, your mom and I are having struggles because of the real estate market and everything else. How about I come in and help you out?" I said, "Sure, Dad. We're older, we're wiser, we're doing much better with our relationship."
Mm-hmm.
Came back into the company, and I mean, it wasn't 3 months, and we were cats and dogs, man, and it was just awful, and a really nasty family business breakup that led to me not talking to him for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so I've been through that. I've been through employee meetings, you know, like disciplinary meetings where you pull a team member in and you're like, "Hey, dude, you know, we got to sit down and I got to, you know, write you up and put something in your employee folder because you did something wrong." And literally had employees attack me, you know, and you know, literally have to defend myself. You know, I've had a when I opened up my Delray Beach branch, which was the third branch that we opened up, from when we opened it up, from the time we decided to build a branch down in Delray to the time we put the key in the door, hired the team members, bought the trucks, built the equipment, decorated the office, trained everybody, everything, put the key in the door to open it up for its first week in business. Its first month, it did $170,000. And so that's pretty good for a first month in business.
That's really good.
Yeah. And so we had managers down there running that. We couldn't keep managers down there running it. We had people stealing from us and issues and problems, or they weren't doing well running it. So I finally went down there and I'm running the branch. My family's in Orlando. I'm staying in a hotel down there for like 2 months. And so we finally said, man, we need to get somebody really good here. So we said, okay, we're going to pay up. You're like, well, I'm just not paid enough. Maybe if we pay up, we'll get the right person.
Mm-hmm.
So we hired a headhunter. Okay. Paid the headhunter 25 grand to find us a $100,000 a year business manager for our Delray Beach location. 100 grand back in the year 2000 is a lot of money. Okay. A lot of money. Not what it is now. Everybody wants 100 grand a year now. But paid the headhunter 25 grand to put $100,000 a year business manager in the business. And within 3 months of him being there, he was running snow white roof cleaning out the back door. In other words, the last job of every day when the customer would say, hey, who do I make this check out to? The technicians were trained to say, snow white roof cleaning.
Oh,
and
man.
so, yeah, so like a quarter of the earnings of the company were going into the pocket of the guy we paid $25,000 a year to a headhunter to put into the role there at that branch at 100 grand a year salary, was stealing from us. And so, I mean, I could go on and on and on. Remember O.J. Simpson? Okay. Remember the O.J. white Bronco going through the streets of L.A.? You probably weren't born then, but you've heard of it. Everybody
Yes,
knows
definitely
the white Bronco. You still call it an O.J. Bronco.
Mm-hmm.
And so we literally had our Tampa branch manager was really good friends with the mayor of Tampa, and for whatever reason, while he was working for us, he got into doing like stock market investments and stuff like that. And he ended up doing it for like retired people and just helping people out and everything else. Well, he kind of got behind on it, and he was doing a Ponzi scheme and everything else. We didn't know. He was just our sales manager at our branch. All of a sudden, we get a phone call in Orlando. Dude, turn on Channel 9 News. Stan's on the news. I'm like, Stan's on the news? Why Stan on the news? They're like, the cops are following him through Tampa like O.J. Simpson style with the helicopter over the top of him. And he's in a Mallard sales vehicle. Mallard sales vehicle, right? O.J. Simpson style with the helicopter above on the 6 o'clock news, chasing this guy all over Tampa. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Literally his what do you call it, booking photo, his mugshot is him in a Mallard polo with the Mallard logo on it. I'm just like, oh my goodness. But this stuff happens, nobody is immune to this stuff when it happens. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you mean. So what kept you motivated during those tough times? Because I know a lot of guys they'd have been like, man, this is way too much. And by the way, was that good? Was that some good marketing whenever
Well, P.T. Barnum says there's no such thing as bad publicity. I don't know if I could have paid for that kind of airtime, man. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's a marketing strategy right there.
I had so many people go, for some odd reason, I think I've heard of your company before. I'm like, you think?
Not on the news, you know what I mean? So, hey, you couldn't pay enough money to have it on the, on the Channel 9 news, right? Just with your branding all over it, the shirt all over it, all of that. Right?
It was crazy. Yeah.
So,
but yeah. Those were wild days for sure.
No,
but yeah, as far as me getting discouraged, what kept me encouraged and in the game? Well, it was that even though bad things happened, the business was still growing. The business was still moving forward. For as many weird or bad things that happened, I had many, 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 many good things that happened. And it's just, staying positive. That's probably my mutant superpower is I'm always that eternal optimist. I'm always the glass is half full. I'm always, looking for the pony in the room full of pony poop. And, and that's just who I am. I realize that not everybody's going to handle those types of trials and tribulations like I have in the past. But there's people in your life that can help you go through that stuff. You don't have to go through that stuff alone. And I did have my dad that was involved in the business with me when this stuff was going on. And I've got an incredible wife. You gotta make sure you marry up. You hire up and you marry up. You guys listening to me? Hire up and marry up. Okay.
Mhm.
Always hire people better than you, and always marry a woman or a guy better than you. You can't lose if you hire up and marry up.
Most definitely. Something that you said that I vehemently agree with, which is like mentorship, right? And you talked about your dad's role that he had and the impact that he had on your business, right? So what role
Yeah.
has mentorship played in your career, and how do you now mentor others in like the pressure washing and soft washing industry?
Yeah, you need to change your friends like you change your oil. When
Mhm,
your oil gets stinky and dark, it's time to change it on your car. When
mhm,
your friends get stinky and dark, it's time to change your friends. And
mhm,
so I've always had a very, very strong peer group. I've always gone to church, been involved in church community. Most of my friends in church were, almost a decade older than me because my wife and I got married young. We had kids young. I mean, I was done having kids and cut it off and everything else at 25. And so so we're hanging out with like 35-year-olds that had kids the same age as ours. And so, I was always people that were in my ear were college educated, career oriented. My dad was not college educated, but he was an entrepreneur. Um, I've always sought after mentoring relationships. I've always gotten involved in coaching programs. I've always spent money for coaching programs and seminars and stuff like that. You are your most important investment. If you don't invest in you, your company will never outgrow you.
And that is true. I've heard many times that sometimes you want to work on the systems, you want to work on the processes, but the biggest thing that's going to exponentially grow your business is just working on yourself, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
being able to unlock that. So that's good. So now you mentor others in the pressure washing and soft washing industry. So let's get in the technicalities of business, right? Because I know a lot of people
Sure.
want to hear these things as well. So can you describe your journey from being technician to becoming like the CEO of SoftWash Systems? What were like the most like significant points during that journey?
Well, hmm.
I know. Loaded question.
Yeah, it is a loaded question. So what are the most significant parts? I think sometimes when we're going through our journey, we don't stop to realize the significant stuff that's happening around us. I
Mhm,
think sometimes when you're on a fast growth track and things are really happening fast in your business and stuff, um, you've really got a situation where you don't get a chance to stop and smell the roses. So I really want to tell people to stop and smell the roses. The 5 keys to pattern success: you got to be deliberate, execute, analyze,
mhm.
analyze. And so you got to take the time to analyze where you're at and what's going on and all. And so my dad taught me. You're always going to hear my dad a lot because even though my dad and I's relationship eventually soured, and then eventually we got back together, he's still been the number one most driving force in my life for
Mhm.
change and encouragement and mentorship and everything else. And that's where I say I'm kind of a child of privilege because not everybody has a good daddy. And my daddy wasn't the best daddy in the world, but he was good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? And even though we had a horrible family business breakup for a while, it was the catalyst for something that became SoftWash Systems. So I
Mhm.
can't really complain. I can't really second guess anything. But my dad taught me to, you know, basically climb my own corporate ladder. And
Mhm.
so when you're the lead tech on the truck, you got to hire an assistant tech to ride next to you. And then you got to train them to become the lead tech so you can get out of the truck so you can go sell. And then you got to hire another salesperson so that they can sell residential while you go out and do commercial. And then you got to turn around and hire a commercial salesperson so you can get out and become a sales manager so that you could put together a sales team so you can get multiple trucks going. And then you got to turn around and you got to go into the admin position so you can learn about the money and learn about the flow of cash flow and learn about the business part of your business. And you eventually back yourself out of the org chart until you look around and go, well, I've replaced myself.
Mhm.
Now I get to just be an owner. And so many people are like afraid of replacing themselves. They're like, nobody will ever do it as good as me. Nobody will ever handle my money the way I'll handle my money. Nobody will ever sell like I sell. And I'm like, yeah, duh. Of
Mhm.
course not. Of course not. But if you ever want to be free, if you ever want to enjoy your life, if you ever want to build a lifestyle business, you're going to have to start, accepting second best. because the only way you're ever going to build your business is to build it off a 70% or a C average model. Because you're not going to, anybody that's really that great that you're like, oh, I only want the best, I want the best kind of person, they're out running their own business.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They don't want, if there's another book out there, you can write this one down, guys. It's by Patrick Bet David. Patrick Bet David. It's called The 5 Keys to Pattern Success. And he describes an entrepreneur in that book. And then he describes an intrapreneur. And an intrapreneur is somebody that has all the skills and everything else to be able to run a business and be entrepreneurial and everything else, but they just don't want the responsibility. Mm-hmm. So they don't mind working for somebody else, but they'll work for you. They'll work for, in your business and everything else. And they have no desire to own the business, go out and start their own business. And they're happy doing it for you. Mm-hmm. That's an intrapreneur. And so you got to find these people that are better than you, smarter than you, stronger than you, to work you off the org chart, replace you to where you're absolutely unnecessary in your business. And that's probably the most important thing that my dad ever taught me, was just little by little, you work your way off the org chart by replacing yourself.
No, most definitely. And I like something that you said, because it's something that I've struggled with in the past, right? With one of my mentors, they told me, they're like, Jonathan, look, anybody that you hire, and there's a reason why you're an entrepreneur, they're gonna, if you get the best people, they're probably only going to be 80 to 90% as good as you are, right? And I know a lot of us, when we're in that owner-operator state, we're like Superman, right? We fix this, we go ahead and do this, we do this to perfection, and then we hold our employees to that same, our team members to that same standard, right? And like you said, if you want to own a business, you're going to have to allow that to kind of foster, right? You're going to kind of have to allow your people to make mistakes. You're going to have to allow them, and sometimes accept that they're not going to be as good as you. And you're right. I've seen guys that have the biggest businesses to where everything's systemized, but of course it's not going to be necessarily like the owner operators and they're doing A++, but they're able to churn out really quality work. And I really like how you said that, to where most guys get enamored with having the perfect business, when you don't need to have a perfect business. You need to have an operable business, right?
Right. Yeah.
Turning without you. So what advice would you give to business owners who are struggling, from working in their business to working on their business? Like, what key advice would you give them on that?
Well, have you ever heard the saying, go break a leg, especially in like acting, or like if you're going to do a show or something like that? The background on that is if you go break a leg, you learn to depend on other people. And so, and we literally had somebody that was one of my customers years back ago, and he shouldn't have done this, and he learned his lesson for this, but he got up on a tile roof here in Central Florida and to clean the roof, and he didn't wear safety ropes, and he slid off the roof, fell down on a concrete driveway, and broke both of his ankles. And he couldn't clean roofs anymore. So guess what he had to do?
Yeah, to hire.
Yeah, had to hire it, had to trust, and had to train, and had to build systems and protocols and everything else. And so sometimes breaking a leg is a good thing, So the Bible, greatest business book ever. I love the Bible. Even if you're not religious, even if you don't believe in God, go read the Bible. There's a lot of great wisdom in the Bible. And so when a shepherd had a disobedient sheep that he couldn't get that sheep to stay with the flock or stay next to him, he would actually take and break the leg on that sheep, so that he had to carry it around while the sheep was healing. And then the sheep would actually become, very more docile and more dependent on the shepherd. And when the leg healed, he could put it down and it would follow right next to the shepherd, because for a period of time, it was close to the shepherd. And so, we open up this call talking about hardships. We open up this call talking about challenges. What you've got to do to get successful is you've got to literally make yourself unneeded in your business. Okay. And so start working on your business system, start working on your marketing system, start working on your HR system, start building your manuals, start acting like a big business. Even if you're an owner operator with a small truck, act bigger than you are. put these things together. Even if you don't have an office, I've set many entrepreneurs up. If you go back to the old 1980s and 90s houses, some of the 70s too, there was like a hall that went back to the bedrooms. There's the master bedroom on one side of the house, and there's a hallway that goes to the other bedrooms. And in that hallway was a closet called a linen closet, and it had two double bifold doors on it. And it opened up to about 6 foot wide, and it's about 2 foot deep, and it was a closet in the hallway. I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many entrepreneurs we've put countertops in that closet and cork boards on those walls and outlets in there and computer monitors and everything else to where when you close those bifold doors, you couldn't tell there was an office in there, but you open them up and a chair slides out and it's like command room central right there. And even though they're just an owner operator with one truck, they go through my whole soft serve business system in a 6 foot area right in front of them on the wall and practice that over and over again because one day they're going to have a second truck. One day they're going to have a third truck. You know, the time to develop systems isn't when you have 3 trucks, it's a train wreck and you're bleeding money.
Mhm.
The time to design systems and get ahead of it is now as an owner operator.
Most definitely. I definitely agree with you on that. So a lot of guys that are watching this are going to say, well, AC, you keep talking about systems. You keep talking about we need to go ahead and build that. And like I said, we are going to talk about your book,
Yeah,
right? The five keys to pattern success. We definitely are because I know step 5 is going to be systemized, right? The
yeah.
first is be deliberate, which you got to be deliberate in knowing like who you're going to hire, what you're going to do. You have to execute upon that. Hire that person, analyze your behavior, and then if it's successful, you replicate that. And after you replicate that, you systemize it so it can be easily repeatable.
Excellent. You get an A.
I did a little, I did a little reading, right? But
Yep.
what is the first system? Because I know you're a sales savant. I know you're a marketing savant, as you talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of your biggest strengths, right? Because we have to know what our strengths are as like leaders of a business, right? Because some guys may not be good at sales that are the leader of a business, and some guys
I'm gonna move you here just a hair. So okay.
it's all good. So some guys may be really good at sales that are leaders, and some others may be good at operational,
Right.
task, right? So you have to kind of fill in those gaps. One thing that I would ask you then for those guys that are kind of just paralysis by analysis, what system would you work on first if they're like an owner operator on that truck? Because there's marketing, there's sales, there's operations. Which one would you go ahead and you would say, look, if I was starting all over again, this is the first system I would go ahead and focus on?
Well, just like my dad taught me many, many years ago, he said, you're replacing yourself. So if you're out on the truck, the very, very first thing you need to do is work on your operation stuff so that you have your manuals and everything in place so that you could hire a technician to come in. And then that technician is going to have everything that they need to be able to do that job. They're going to have all the protocols, procedures, all the training, all that kind of stuff to make sure that they do the job right. Okay. And so that you can get off the truck and you can start working on sales and marketing. And
Mhm.
then you're going to go ahead and perfect your sales and marketing and work on all that. And then you're going to turn around and you're going to be able to take then and put together your sales and marketing protocols and procedures and all that kind of stuff so that you can then go ahead and replace yourself in that department. And then you're going to move to admin. And admin is where you're going to develop all your administrative and HR protocols and procedures and manuals and all that kind of stuff. So you're doing it as you're backing out of the company. The very first place you need to do it is in your operational area and develop all your training videos and stuff like that.
Mhm. No, that's perfect. I mean, I don't think guys can go wrong with that information. So marketing plays, as we know, marketing plays a critical role in business growth, right? How has your approach to marketing evolved when you first started to now with SoftWash systems? I know you guys have Mallard systems. I know you've been doing this since the 90s, before I was even born,
Yeah.
like 91 and all of that, right? And so how have you seen marketing change throughout the years, and how have you adjusted from when you were running Mallard systems to now with SoftWash systems?
So
I know, Lord,
for
I
the
go
for the
on.
kind of marketing that people are going to be listening to this call are doing, because I do different marketing for SoftWash systems when I'm looking for licensed affiliates to bring on to become part of SoftWash systems. I do different marketing for team members or employees. I do different marketing for Disruptor manufacturing. You know, I do different marketing for SoftWash services, which is our service business. So when I look at marketing for SoftWash services, I can tell you with all honesty and conviction then marketing has changed a lot over the years. There's a lot of cool new digital marketing you can do, social media marketing. There's Google advertising and there's all these things nowadays. You've got YouTube, you've got Reels, you've got video. There's so many places that you can do marketing that makes it seem like, man, it's really different than it was 33 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell this wholeheartedly without reservation. This is absolute truth. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing that works the best for me right now is the marketing that worked the best for me in 1992.
I'm waiting.
So putting out door hangers, putting
Mm-hmm.
out yard signs, knocking on doors,
Mm-hmm.
meeting your neighbors, meeting
Mm-hmm.
the other tradesmen and women in the community, other service providers, realtors, property managers, finding that Girl Scout that's in your neighborhood and helping her win the Girl Scout cookie drive because you bought, 150 boxes of Girl Scout cookies from her because you're going to give them out, as you're walking the streets, meeting property managers and realtors and carpet cleaners and stuff. You're going to give them a box of Girl Scout cookies. Pressing the flesh, kissing babies, shaking hands, grassroots stuff
Mm-hmm.
outperforms everything out there under the sun. Period. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you can be absent from those areas. Okay. Because you never know when the $80,000 apartment community is going to find you on Google. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden you're like, Google sucks. And you get an $84,000 job like I just did. And you're like, okay, Google doesn't suck so much. So King Solomon, this guy in the Bible, okay, used to say a cord of many strands is not easily broken. What does that mean? Well, if you take a piece of thread and you jump off a building holding a piece of thread, what's happening? You're going to die, sucker, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you take that same piece of thread and take 1,000 of them and bind them together and you go to jump off the building, what do you have?
Look, you have a strong foundation. You have a solid.
Yeah, you have a rope, you have parachute cord, you have many strands. So in your advertising, and I do this every single week, guys. We have a report. I don't do it anymore. My team does this. We have what's called a leads report. And on my leads report, we track how many leads came in, how many that we closed for every advertising channel. And we have 36 advertising channels on our leads report. I do 36 different things every week to make the phone ring.
Man, that is.
And some weeks I get leads from some of them, some weeks I don't. I have things on there that are rock star things that always perform. I have things on there that are seasonally perform. But we have 36 different advertising channels on our leads report. We track how many calls come in from each of them, how many calls we close from each of them. Each of them get an individual closing rate. Okay. We got how many leads came in for the week from all of the advertising channels. And we do an individual closing rate on that. We do a day of the week. What leads came in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we say we show how many leads came in each day and an individual closing rate for each day of the week. Like I know the most leads come in on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
My number one closing days, closing ratio days are Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I had to be active on those days. I can't be, I'm not going to be out cleaning. I know Thursdays and Fridays are my lowest. So I can turn around and go out and clean on Thursdays and Fridays. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be out selling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, if I'm an owner operator, I'm going to go out and clean. Why do I want to clean on a Saturday? Because lots of people are going to see me doing it. So there's strategy that you do to this, and you don't avoid Google and you don't avoid YouTube. I've made a ton of money on YouTube, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen our YouTube channel, but we have got a crap load of videos on YouTube. And when people call us, we say, how did you find us? Always ask people, how did you find us? And log it down and put it in your leads report. And so they'll say YouTube. And I go, really? YouTube? That's great. And they go, every case, they go, oh man, I found one video of yours and I watched it. And then over in the suggested videos area, 2 or 3 more came up. And then I hit your channel and I came up 6 hours later. And that's what people do. They hit our YouTube channel and they're on there for 6 hours. And it's unbelievable. And we get the statistics on it and everything else. Very few people hit our YouTube channel and bounce out. They go there for hours. And so YouTube is good, Google's good, Facebook loves social media, love Instagram. Twitter's not as hot as it used to be. Twitter's like where sports stars and music stars go. LinkedIn is pretty good for finding commercial work. TikTok's getting better. My demographic really isn't on TikTok as much, but the people who are on TikTok will eventually start spending money. Right now, they're not spending money on home services, but they're growing into that. So it's a good place to be. But the good old-fashioned stuff that your granddaddy and your great-granddaddy was doing 100 years ago is still what puts the money in the bank today.
Man, you know what? It's said a lot of good nuggets, and I don't think people are really going to comprehend like just the level of foresight, right? Which is you talk about in your book, right? Analyze. And so one key thing that you just said is even if those traditional marketing methods, because I agree with you, and I own a marketing company, and I always tell guys, I always say, look, you need to have a foundation. Us at the marketing company, we're here to amplify your fire. We're not here to start it and sustain it. We're here to make your fire even larger, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
And you don't know their business. I mean, you know their business a little bit, but you come in and you take some of the heat off of them and automate some of the things and come in and help them pay attention to areas of their business that they should be paying attention to and not going down the marketing wormhole so much.
exactly. And so one thing that I like that you said is that you're anticipating, right? Which is TikTok. A lot of guys will say, oh, I'm not going to be on TikTok, or I'm not going to be on YouTube. My customer's not on YouTube, because I hear guys say that like on YouTube, my customers would be looking on how to do it themselves. And you just clearly, you've clearly been killing it off of YouTube, and people don't.
Oh, I tell people how to do it.
Yeah.
So so when they get fed up of it and everything else, they go, what was that company that had the how-to video on YouTube? I think I'm going to hire them to come back and clean up the mess I created.
No, exactly. And we're about to get into brand building in a minute, but do you know who owns YouTube?
Well, Google owns YouTube.
Exactly my point. So you're killing two birds with one stone, right? Whenever you're posting on YouTube, Google's going to prioritize their own platform as well, right? So that's one thing that I always tell guys is that having that YouTube, having all of that. And you also said about TikTok, where you're anticipating, millennials, all of that. Like I'm a millennial. People in that age category between 25 and 35, right? They may not be on TikTok, or they may not be homeowners looking, getting their first home and all of that, but they will be 35, 36, right, in the next 5 to 10 years. And so,
right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, our average client spends $2,500 with us. We're $2,500 tickets or greater. One of our SoftWash Systems affiliate companies last year did a single home $30,000 cleaning.
Oh, man.
Okay. So usually millennials that are worried about if they're wearing Air Jordans or not, or wearing the right clothes still anymore, aren't going to spend $2,500 to clean their house.
Hey,
They're
AC,
just
don't
not
call
going to
me
do
out,
it.
man.
But
Don't call me out.
one day they're going to be 45 to 65, and they're going to go, I ain't cleaning my own house, and they're going to prioritize where they spend their money, and they will be our customers one day. So you might as well at least start warming up to them now.
Exactly. So you're one of the first people that had some of the, while we're on the marketing talk, when we're talking about that, you were one of the first people to have one of the over the top, logoed out shirts. And I actually saw one of your replies that you had the other day for
I wasn't one of the first people. I was the first person.
Hey, let me correct myself. You were the first person, because we'll talk about
only because I was a professional fisherman and I was already doing it for the fishing world, and I just slid it over into the business world. So
exactly. So you were the first person to do that. You were the first person to do that in this industry. Can you share insights into creating, sustaining a brand that stands out? Because I loved the response that you had to one of the guys. It was about a week ago or so. And he was talking about, man, these guys have different brands and all of that over their shirt. You need to just have your brand. And you were like, look, man, I was one of the first people. And even in your book, I should have bookmarked it, but I know you have it to where you had an example of your shirt, right?
Right.
So can you talk about brand and share insights in creating, sustaining a brand that stands out and why that is important?
Yeah, you do. The guy, the point that the guy was making is you put all these logos and everything else on your shirt, and people don't know who those people are on your shirt, and it doesn't mean anything to them. And I
Mhm.
disagreed. I said even if they don't know who they are and it doesn't mean anything to them, they're like, well, gosh, look at all the logos on that guy's shirt. He must those certifications. I mean, it looks really professional, and it does create an air of confidence. Um, but you do have to be careful with something's called brand dilution. There is kind of a limit. So at SoftWash Systems, we have a whole class, a 45-minute class on their uniforms. And I go into the logo placements and where they should be on a sublimated shirt when you're representing SoftWash Systems, and what is too much and what is too little and where you put them and all that kind of stuff so it doesn't look cluttered. But what it does tell your customers is you have your brand big on the shirt. It says that you're affiliated with other things. It means other people trust you. Okay. It shows them that if you've got associations like the PWNA or the PWMCA or one of those different associations, it lets them know that you're part of a trade group, which means you had to meet a standard. In the carpet cleaning world, they have the different ISSA standards, and they'll put the ISSA logo on their shirts. It's a confidence builder for people, and I don't think it necessarily detracts from your logo or your brand if you do it tastefully, and you understand the placement of where each one of those logos should go.
No, of course. And here's an example, guys. I found a couple of examples right now in your book, if you guys can see right here, right? So there you
Yep.
are. You know what I mean?
And so that's my cleaning company that I had after Mallard, after my dad and I broke up, was called TerraClean.
Yeah.
And so I made them my sponsor on the Redfish Tour. I said, well, if I'm footing the bill for most of these tournaments, TerraClean's going in the middle. And those were all of the products that I used. That's when I won the national championship. Yep. And so you're giving honor to the different products and stuff you use. So like if you put Craig Harrison's F9 on your shirt, you're giving him honor. There's nothing wrong with giving somebody honor. And it lets your customers know what products you're using, and it differentiates you from all the other competitors out there.
Yes, most definitely. So I keep showing your book. Let's talk about your book right now.
Yeah,
It's Five Keys to Pattern Success, right? Can you kind of explain what it is for the people that don't know what it is and how it can be applied to grow their pressure washing business or their exterior cleaning business?
absolutely. So, as I got this beautiful Florida sun coming in on me here now, everywhere I go on the back porch now, I'm having to avoid the sun. Um, but it'll make everybody that's still cold up north jealous. So,
Yeah.
okay, so the 5 keys of pattern success. This is a little system I've used in my life. I use it to win the Redfish Tour National Championship. I use this system to date and marry my wife. I've used it in my business for my marketing and everything else. This is a very simple and almost foolproof system for you just getting started on on really delving into what's effective and not effective for you. So it works on basically your 5 fingers. Don't go out and get it tattooed like I have in the book, but um, in the drawing. But your thumb here is be deliberate. Be deliberate. That means have a plan. Put
Mhm.
together a plan. A dream can be a plan. Okay. You can
Mhm.
have a dream wall or a business plan. You got to have a plan. You got to decide where are you going. And then the next thing is execute.
Mhm.
Okay. Execute. Now you'll notice on your hand, the biggest gap between I know your thumb's not a finger, but let's call it a finger. Okay. Your biggest gap is between your thumb and your pointer finger or your forefinger right here. Okay. That big gap right there is what Howard Partridge calls failure to implement, because most people have a plan, but they don't execute. And
Mhm.
some of those people, all the people out there that have great ideas and they're like, oh my gosh, I got my next get rich quick scheme and everything else. And they're the people that you roll your eyes at. You go, oh my gosh, every time this guy opens his mouth, he's got some scheme he's always working on. The schemes don't always sound bad. It's that they don't execute, they don't do anything with them. So people are like, they don't take them seriously. So you've got to make sure you get through the failure to implement and get from be deliberate to execute. Then once you execute, you do some things. You got to take the time to analyze. You got to stop. You got to take some time off. You got to know your numbers. You got to do spreadsheets. You got to analyze your efforts. Okay. So that when you figure out the good stuff that is working, then you can go to the fourth one, which is replicate. Because we want to replicate, we want to do more of the good stuff, not more of the bad stuff. I mean, what's the definition of insanity?
And the same thing over and over again with the same results, right?
Expecting the same result. So a
Yeah.
lot of people, okay, will go out there and they'll replicate stuff that's not working over and over and over again. Without good analyzation, you can't figure out what's working and then go out and replicate the good stuff that's working. Put more heat behind the advertising that's working. Put more heat behind the culture building events in your company. Put more heat behind the new chemical that you found that increases production. You have to take time to analyze. And then once you figure out you can replicate the good thing, the good result over and over and over again, then you build a system so that it self-replicates, and that's systemizing it. Okay. So be deliberate, have a plan, execute, analyze, replicate, and systemize. And believe it or not, that's how I met and married my wife. The guys in my dorm, and you've read it there in the book, the guys in my dorm figured out I liked redheads. And so we put together a list kind of jokingly that night of all of the cute redheads out at Abilene Christian University. And then, of course, when you got a list, then the guys started, joking and everything else and like challenging me that I couldn't date every girl on that list in one semester. Okay. So I started dating all the girls on that list in one semester.
Execute,
And of
right?
course,
Execution.
okay, then I analyzed. I went, well, which ones did I enjoy going out with? Which ones did I didn't? Which ones had good personalities, et cetera, et cetera. Then I replicated. I took some of them out on a second date. Okay. The system we created was the list. And then finally, I found one that I went, I really, really like this one. And so I went back and asked that one to marry me. And so guys, it's that easy. It's that easy. If you guys follow the 5 keys to power and success, you will be successful and win more than you will lose. The problem is most people won't ever stop and take the time to analyze. Okay. Even if you get to execution, you run like a gerbil wheel all the time. Go, 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 owner operator in your business. And you never take a Friday off or a week off or spend any time to reflect, analyze. You don't put together spreadsheets or any kinds of accountability systems. Okay. And you just stay on that gerbil wheel. Unless you can analyze and look for the good stuff that's happening good and move on to replication, you're going to be stuck in the rut the rest of your life. But once you go past analyze to replicate, and then from replicate to systemize, and you build that self-licking ice cream cone that Robert Kiyosaki talks about from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you build that business that runs itself, then you get to enjoy life. It's called building a lifestyle business.
Most definitely. And so you took my next question was going to be, can you share a personal or business system that led you to success? But you already shared one, right?
There it is right there. Yeah. Right? I mean, it led to this success right here. 32 years married and loving life and beautiful children and adult children out of the house. I've been an empty nester since 45, and and she ended up being a great, they say never hire your friends and family. Well, I go to work with my wife every day, and I can't complain to HR when she sexually harasses me because she is HR. She is the HRHIC, the head redhead in charge, and so she's the HR, the head redhead, and she completes me, and so that's successful life systems, whether it be in business, life, marriage, family, religion, whatever it is. It all comes down to what works, what doesn't, and doing more of the good stuff and pruning away the bad stuff.
Yes. Where can they find this book? I know where they can find it, but where
yeah, so
find the video?
It's on Amazon. You can go to my website, softwashsystems.com, and you can go to the shopping cart system on softwashsystems.com and purchase it there. When we do trade shows, we have copies of it at the trade shows. It's on Audible as well as on Kindle. And so I read it myself on Audible. So you get to listen to my voice for 4 hours. But yeah, it's a good book. And hopefully I'll finish the next one here. If I bit off way more than I could chew back in 2023. I was growing my manufacturing company and
Mhm.
everything else, and we're so busy right now. We just had another huge customer. We just landed today and just got some good news on. And it's nice being busy, but I need to finish my next book because it's got a lot more great stuff in it.
Can you give us a little insight on what your next book is, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so what I did is I've got a series of books now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're called Countdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first one is Countdown, the top 20 steps to launch a small business.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes in order of the top 20 things you need to do in exact order. Don't skip one, don't jump ahead or anything else that you need to do to launch a business, have a legal business, set up your books, develop your brand, all that stuff. If you can boil launching a business in 20 steps, that's what it is. So it's Countdown, the top 20 steps to launch a small business. The next one's going to be count down the top 20 steps to launch a sales team.
Mm-hmm.
Then, count down the top 20 steps to launch a new product.
Mm-hmm.
Count down the top 20 steps to launch a marketing plan. And so that's what I'm going to be doing is putting together these nice simple books to where literally people can grow their businesses 20 steps at a time and just get the information in a concise way that's not overwhelming.
Of course. And as you know, I want to talk about SoftWash systems because
Yeah.
I want to talk about the technicalities of it, right? I know that we talked about your journey that got you into SoftWash systems, Terra Clean, Malware systems, all of those different businesses that you have ran, but that has led you right now to what you're probably most known for, which is going to be SoftWash systems. So there's a lot of people out here that are listening, and you have a good web of knowledge because not only do you know how to market for a soft washing business, but you also know how to market and sell for, different kind of like products, like you said,
Mhm.
programs, all of that. So you bring a wealth of that knowledge. But can you tell us about soft wash systems and what it is, what its goals are, who it's geared towards, all of that? Can you tell me about soft wash systems?
Yeah, so SoftWash Systems is the business that I launched after I went completely broke from my last bad family business breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's also the business that it didn't know what it was going to be when it grew up. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is what SoftWash Systems is today is not what I set out to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, this definitely evolved. It had its own wings. It's been shaped by the people that have been in the network and in the business with me, and the people I've put into the business asking me to do more for them and be a little more exclusive and develop different products and the business systems and the marketing systems and everything I've done for them. And so it has definitely evolved over the years. And SoftWash Systems has just been an exercise of me waking up every day and honoring the next opportunity that's been presented
Mm-hmm.
out ahead of me. So what SoftWash Systems has become, it was at one time it was just a product line.
Mm-hmm.
And so soft washing was getting popular. There wasn't a bunch of supplies out there. So I developed some soap, some equipment, some chemicals, a little bit of training and stuff to help put people into the soft washing business.
Mm-hmm.
And that was good for a while, but some of those people were like, ACO, we really like your stuff and we want more exclusivity and let's start a network. And so I listened to those people as the business grew and all. And I don't know if it's the right direction it took or the wrong direction, but where we have found ourselves today, and it's blessed a lot of people. I haven't made as much money off of this as people think I have. You
Mm-hmm.
know, people that think I'm like a multi millionaire, billionaire kind of person and all. And I mean, I live well, but listen, not really well. I'm not like Rockefellers. I'm a I live very, very well for a person that's in a blue collar industry. Okay. And I've got a lot of value. My businesses are debt free and I've done very well. And if I ever sold out, I would cash in big time. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not what I get from day to day. What do I get from day to day? I get to help people live their lives and I get to help people grow their businesses. And I get to do that mentoring that helped me out. I get to pay back the world for what the world has given me and what God's given me. And so where we find ourselves today is SoftWash Systems is a licensed affiliate program.
Mhm.
Used to be if you could learn the secret handshake and you used our products, hey, you got to put our logo on the side of the truck. That's not the way it is anymore. You have to sign an agreement now to become a licensed affiliate, and it's not a franchise. There's no franchise fees or royalties or anything else like that. We make our money off the consumables, off the soap. I tell people we make our money 1 gallon at a time, but I take a very exclusive group of people now and I pour myself into them almost exclusively, certainly exclusively in the exterior cleaning space.
Mhm.
But these people get my time, they get my coaching. I have a weekly call that's for 2 hours they can jump in on. I develop business systems and marketing and training aids for them. We've got our SoftWash Academy online that has over 250 classes that we've produced on there, from sales to marketing to HR to how to's to running the truck to operating the equipment to training your team members, certifications, tests, resources, contracts, documents. We have got everything that you would need to operate a service business, especially a soft washing service business. And because I've been hurt by a lot of people that I've trusted, that I gave this little baby to, and they just got into the business to learn everything they could from me, and 18 months later leave and start their own business, putting people into the business. And because some people I've given this gift to and they haven't honored it and they've crashed and burned it. And then some people that are just honestly psycho. We decided a year ago to get very, very specific and very picky on who we let into soft wash systems. We used to build about 100 skids a year for soft wash systems and putting people into the business. We only do 25 now.
Mhm.
And so if you get a skid from soft wash systems, it means that you are cut from the cloth. You've been, literally handpicked. You've jumped through all the hoops. You've passed all the personality profile tests. You've signed the agreement, and it means something now to be part of SoftWash Systems. And ultimately, because of that, I'm making a lot less money than I did back in the day. But I feel like we're building something better, a better foundation for the future. And so we do business with a lot less people. And but the people we do business with and the people whose lives we're in, we're helping them build lifestyle businesses that are absolutely changing their lives. And like I just followed the 5 keys to pattern success. And when I found out that there was a certain group of people that wasn't working for us, we pruned them away. We got rid of them. We got a lot tighter on our target avatar, and we started focusing on the people that we could bless, not the
Mhm.
high maintenance people that just want to suck the life out of us.
No, hey, I understand that completely. And
Yeah.
so if you guys are out there, I will provide all of the links to SoftWash Systems. As you heard right now, it's a great group. I have some of my clients are in that, like I discussed with you, like Rick and Jamie,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Very, very good people. So I know the caliber of how well your guys' tight-knit community really is. And so that's awesome. So I kind of want to, ask you these last couple of questions. I know you're a busy guy. You've blessed us with the last hour and 10 minutes of
And
all of
my
this.
my wife is looking at me because we have a 6:30 restaurant appointment, so a restaurant reservation. So
Most definitely. So I want to make sure I do not go ahead and upset her, right?
that's
So
right. She is the head redhead in charge. So remember that.
yep. So I have 2 more questions for you, my friend, and then you can go off to the races at that point, right?
Awesome.
So,
Thank you.
so what is a personal life hack that has made you a better entrepreneur? And I'm gonna ask both of the questions both at once, and then after that, like I said, you can you've already blessed us with your presence. And
Right.
also, team development is crucial for business. What strategy have you found most effective in building and maintaining the strong team, not only on your self-washing business, but for SoftWash Systems and everything else for Disruptor manufacturing, all of that?
Ooh, so personal life hack. And it's actually a slide from our Discover the Opportunity class that we do at Discover Softwash. We let people know that are wanting to come into our organization that they have to be 2 things: coachable and moldable,
Mm-hmm.
coachable and moldable. And the personal life hack for me is be humble.
Mm-hmm.
Remember who it came from. We're all talented. We're all blessed by God, but we're blessed by God. Okay. It's very hard for you to take credit of your victories, you know, because I've done some literally Forrest Gump like stuff in my life. You know what I'm saying? I could write a book, and I probably will one day. But I've done some Forrest Gump like stuff in my life, and I realize, dude, I'm just AC Lockyer. I put my pants on one leg at a time. You know, I'm very, very blessed, but I'm on this planet to serve other people and take care of other people and help other people out. Not blow my horn, not blow V8, not tell people how great I am. I'm only great because somebody else made me great and because the people have spoken to my life because I paid attention. Okay. And so I've done some great things. I've accomplished some incredible things, but I'm every day I get older, the more humble I become and the more grateful I become to the people that are around me. So be coachable and moldable, and you'll go a long way. Not because you did it, it's because people will breathe life into you and will hold you up and will give you opportunity if you're coachable and moldable.
Well, those are some wise words, and I thank you for sharing those wise words with us, because I know that you're always accessible, Facebook Messenger and all of that, and I always see you contributing, in those groups. So that's really all I have. Like I said, I do not
Yeah.
want to get in trouble. I know you got those 6:30 dinner, but I really don't want to get in trouble by keeping you too long. But yeah, so thank you so much once again, guys. Like I said, the 5 keys to pattern success. You guys can get that on Amazon, softwashsystems.com. I'm going to link all of this stuff in AC. I'll probably just send you a message, or I'll send your executive assistant a message just on all the links that we can go ahead and get, so that when you guys are watching this video or listening to this podcast, you guys will have that information readily available for you at a click of a button. But other than that,
Yeah.
though, I really appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you.
No problem, no problem. I'll talk to you later.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.